to reconstruct the air and all that brings. And oxidation is the compromise you own. But this is beginning to feel like the dog wants a bone. Say, your methods start the disconnect from all your creeds. As fortune strives to fill the vacuum that it feeds, but this is beginning to feel like the dog's lost a lead. Say,
Tonight on VSRF Live, we welcome Dr. Bryan Ardis for a conversation on one of the most pressing questions of our time. Why are we sick, and what can we do about it?
Everybody at home watching, listening, you've been programmed, brainwashed your entire life that when you hear the words vaccine, the only three words that are going to come up after it are what? Safe and effective. You've been programmed, vaccines are safe and effective. If drugs are FDA approved, it's got to be safe and effective. So it's very hard for people to wrap their minds around the fact that you might be being lied to in favor of an industry. And unfortunately, anybody who's promoting the COVID-19 vaccines, it is absolutely known and proven it's causing rapid forming blood clotting issues, strokes. It is causing turbo cancers, glioblastomas in children in universities. It used to be 4 to 6 months of dying after being diagnosed with a glioblastoma. Now you're getting kids that have never been diagnosed with glioblastomas, brain tumors before.
Hello and welcome to VSRF Live. I'm Livio Sanchez, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. Over the past several decades, Americans have been promised that advances in medicine, pharmaceuticals, technology, and healthcare would lead to longer, healthier lives. Yet all around us, we see a very different reality. Chronic illness has become so common that many people barely notice it anymore. Autoimmune disorders, diabetes, obesity, neurological conditions, cancer, infertility, chronic fatigue, anxiety, depression, Nearly every family has been touched by one or more of these conditions, and many people are now managing multiple chronic health challenges at the same time. Despite record healthcare spending and access to more medical interventions than at any point in history, millions of people are asking a simple question: why does it seem like everyone is sick? Is it our food, our environment, the medications we're taking, chronic stress, toxic exposures, or is there something fundamentally wrong with the way we approach health itself? Tonight's guest has spent years asking those questions and challenging conventional assumptions about what may be driving today's chronic disease epidemic. In tonight's conversation, Dr. Bryan Ardis will share his perspective on the dramatic rise in chronic illness, discuss the role of nutrition, environmental toxins, pharmaceuticals, and lifestyle factors, and most importantly, examine practical steps individuals can take to improve their health and reclaim control of their well-being. But before we bring him on, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on the passing of a wonderful man, a devoted husband and father, accomplished attorney, and dear friend to many of our community, Warner Mendenhall. Warner was a tireless advocate, a warrior for truth, and a friend to so many in the medical freedom movement. We were fortunate to work alongside him over the years, and his loss is being felt deeply by countless people whose lives he touched. Tonight, before we begin our discussion, I'd like to welcome Steve Kirsch and Nurse Angela Wolbrecht and Lisa Leahy to VSRF.
Close enough.
These are our VSRF team members to share a few words in memory of Warner and reflect on the impact he had on so many. Welcome, Steve. Welcome, Lisa and Angela.
Thank you, Livio.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Livio.
This was shocking news, even though we knew that Warner had been battling cancer for some time, but it's still hard, his passing. And you, all of us, but Angela and Lisa and Steve, you had very close relationship with him. I wanted to, have you guys say a few words about your time with Warner and what he meant to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, Warner was just a great guy, just a wonderful human being. Can't say enough about him. I mean, he would take on battles that most lawyers wouldn't take on. He was very highly regarded. He did great work. He did a lot of pro bono work. He was a tireless warrior for our cause. And was just shocking to me to see him go from very vibrant to now he's dead in just a very short amount of time. I mean, it's really quite was really shocking to me.
Yeah.
It's devastating. It's hard to talk about him without just being so sad, because he was just an incredible human being, and he fought courageously for what was right. He was such a leader. He brought thousands and thousands of people together. His legacy will continue to live on because he also brought us a lot of courage. He was never afraid, and he did what was right in medical freedom. And he's a legend. He's a hero. He's an incredible human being, and we give our love to his family and all the people that are feeling this big loss. Yeah, I just remember all the late phone calls discussing the UC case and the COVID litigation conferences that we put on, that Lisa worked so hard with him. So he was very special.
Yeah. What I loved about him is there was not an elitist bone in his body, right? He was like the everyman's man. He had a passion to help the little guy, the average person, you and me. Like, you could just relate. He had a passion for the underdog. I mean, taking up plaintiff's work is hard, right? Because oftentimes you are going up against the defendants are, oftentimes these corporate or government wrongdoers, and they've got huge law firms. And he just took on that work, and he loved it. And what I loved about him too, that was so extraordinary, is he never missed a phone call. Like, he never wouldn't pick up the phone. It was almost like he hated to miss a call. So like, I called him not that long ago, And he's like, "Oh, hey, I'm sitting in the chair getting my first chemo." And I'm like, "You didn't have to pick up the phone, Warner." And he's like, "No, no, call me anytime." And he just really meant it. Call me anytime. No matter who you were his friend, you were his family. And that's sort of how he operated. Like everyone was his family. And it was very touching, very touching. There aren't a lot of people like that.
Yeah, he really treated everyone like a friend or family member.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got to spend a lot of quality time with him at the COVID litigation conferences and at other conferences like the IMA conference, and he was on our VSRF Live many times.
Yeah.
And it's
He was a connector too, Livio. Like
Yeah.
I was thinking about this, reflecting. I don't think there was one person at those litigation conferences who thought it was more valuable than he thought it was. Like who wanted it to happen more than he did. He wanted us to come together in person and be physical and connect in person. And so that was so much a part of who he was too, connecting people, bringing people together and bringing together like synergies and like we're better together and we can do more together than in our separate silos, you know.
yeah,
So
Just
yeah,
such a kind heart too. I mean, we're fighting government, we're fighting big pharma, we're fighting the beast. And he just did it with the sweetest heart and a smile on his face. And I've never met somebody that worked so hard, late at night. I mean, he's 3 hours ahead of me, and most of my conversations with him were at 10, 11 o'clock my time. It's the middle of the night for him, and he was just working tirelessly, not gaining a penny from any of the work that he did for our lawsuit against the UC reagents.
yeah.
And I know he did the same for Brooke Jackson and all the others that he touched. And he cared so deeply about his community, and he cared so deeply about his family. I am going to miss all of the holidays where he would send me pictures of his wife and his children and his grandkids. And I've never had an attorney that felt so much like a close friend. He really didn't feel like my attorney. He was just a dear friend to us. And he cared so deeply about all Americans and their medical freedom and protecting their rights. And that's something that, you know, even though he's no longer with us, it's not lost. We'll carry that forward, and he will continue to live on in all of us, and we'll keep on doing the amazing work that he started. And it was really a joy. And just, you know, we're so lucky to have had all that time that we had with him. Really.
yes. Yeah, thank you, Angela and Lisa, for coming on and sharing your stories and coming on Warner's Honor. I'm going to just put a picture of him on the screen and take just a moment. Rest in peace, Warner.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Lisa, Angela, for coming on.
Thank you.
And Angela, travel safe. I know you're on your way to
Thank
the
you.
airport, so have a great
Thank
trip
you.
and be safe out there.
Thank you.
Where are you going?
I am heading to Spain. I'm taking a little mini vacation with some girlfriends and going to Spain for a few weeks. So I will come back, recharge, and I'll be thinking about Warner. And I can't wait to get back to everybody. And I'll miss you guys, but I'll be in touch.
Talk to you soon. Have so much
Enjoy your
fun.
trip.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Steve, we're ready to move on to tonight's show and guest. I'm really excited to bring on Dr. Bryan Ardis. Dr. Ardis, welcome to VSRF Live. How are you this evening? Oh, wait, let me hit an unmute button.
He's very muted today.
It's great to be here with you too. Very excited to be here, and thanks for inviting me onto the platform. I hope you guys are doing great.
Thanks for coming on. I actually saw your presentation at the Better Way conference last weekend, and every time I tried to come up to introduce myself, you were crowded, too many people talking to you, so I'm glad you were able to make it on this week. And before I release you to Steve, I want to read your bio for our audience that may not know about you. Dr. Bryan Ardis is a doctor of chiropractic, certified acupuncturist, nutritionist, researcher, best-selling author, and host of the Doctor Ardis Show. Over the course of his career, he has treated thousands of patients through functional medicine clinics in Tennessee and Texas. and has become one of the most recognized voices in the independent health movement. Known for challenging conventional assumptions about health and disease, Dr. Ardis has spent years researching chronic illness, environmental exposures, pharmaceuticals, nutrition, and natural approaches to wellness. He is also the author of Moving Beyond the COVID-19 Lies, Restoring Health and Hope for Humanity, a book examining many of the scientific, medical, and public health controversies that emerged during the COVID era. Through his clinical work, research, public speaking, and educational platforms, Dr. Ardis has encouraged individuals to take a more active role in understanding their health and exploring the factors that may be contributing to today's chronic disease epidemic. And again, Dr. Ardis, thank you so much for joining us. And I want to remind our audience, we will be having Q&A at the end of the interview. So if you have questions for Bryan or Steve, put them in the chat, all caps, and I'll get to as many as I can. All right, Steve, take it away.
All right. Well, let's start with the elephant in the room, that safe and effective vaccine that we all lined up to get. So did you get any of the COVID vaccines yourself, or did any of your patients get the COVID shots?
Absolutely not. Actually, I did not take any of the COVID-19 vaccines. And as Livio learned at the Better Way conference 25 years ago, I actually started researching all vaccines when my first child was born. He's 25 years old. He was vaccinated for 6 months. And after 6 months, I bought a DVD online, and it happened to be by Dr. Sherry Tenpenny. And I watched it. It was called Vaccines in the CDC Documents. It was about an hour long, and it just planted some seeds of like doubt in all vaccines. So I went and researched for the next 6 months outside of class. I would go into my library at school, and I would actually research everything on CDC's website, FDA's website, NIH's website, and everything on PubMed.gov I could get my hands on. Anything related to vaccines and their efficacy or any risks. And Steve, I'll tell you, within 2 weeks in 2001, within 2 weeks of starting this 6 months worth of research, I decided then, I don't know why anybody does a vaccine. So I never vaccinated any of my children. I have 5 children. 4 have never been vaccinated. The oldest has not been vaccinated since 6 months old. They've all been to public school, been in universities. None of them have ever had a vaccine ever. So when it came to COVID-19, it was
and they were able to get through public school. Like, wouldn't they get kicked out of school? Where'd you live?
No, I love that.
Before you continue,
Tennessee.
Brian, if I can interrupt for a sec, any chance I could get you to raise, if you can, your microphone volume just a little bit, because I'm having to peg my mixer.
Is that better?
Yeah.
A little more?
Is that better?
That's good.
Yeah, that's better. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Hey, you're welcome. No worries. That's a great question. So the very first place they started attending public school was in a city called Maryville, Tennessee, pronounced by the Tennessee people, Murrayville, just south of Knoxville. And I was told by every school person, staff, principals, school district, that they had to have every kid, including mine, had to have every vaccine on the CDC schedule. Well, my kids didn't have any but the first 6 months. So I actually went to the Tennessee.gov's website, and I wanted to see, after all my research for years, at this point, 4 or 5 years, I wanted to know, is what the school telling me the same thing the state says to all citizens in the state? So what I learned, this was crazy. There was like 21 total vaccines on the CDC schedule by the time my kid would be going to public school, that the independent school district was telling me in 2006, when he's going into kindergarten, he has to have all of these. When I went on Tennessee.gov's website, I was shocked that that was not what the state said. The state said you just need these 7 of the 21 in order to be able to go to public school. So then I knew the states and the independent school district were not even on the same knowledge or same recommendations. And then I went to every chiropractor, which was only 7 in my county, which is called Blount County. I called them all, went to their offices, and I wanted to know, how many of you were able to get your kids out of getting vaccines for them to go to public school? And not a joke, Steve, every single one of them, either on the phone or in person, said to me, we could never figure out how to get them exempted, so we just got them vaccinated. And I was like, wait, what? Oh my God. Okay, fine. So I go to a conference in Nashville. At the conference, there's a guy named Dr. Dobbins, and he's standing there and he goes, I'm from California, but all you 200 chiropractors and acupuncturists and nutritionists here, what are the exemption rules for Tennesseans? And everybody raises their hand and goes, oh no, you can't get exemptions here. And I could not believe it. I'm looking around the room hoping someone can answer this for me. And this mom behind me stands up and goes, "That's not true. There are exemptions in Tennessee for all vaccines." And I said, "You and I need to meet out in the lobby." This is 2005, 2006. We go out to the foyer. I said, "You got to tell me, where do you get the exemption forms?" Because the state didn't tell me. The school district didn't tell me. This one mom knew the answer. And this is what she said. "Dr. Ardis, go to your United States Health Department in your county. When you go in there, ask the person at the desk for the yellow form. Just ask for the yellow form and have them sign it and give it to you. It's an exemption for all vaccines in public school. And it's sitting there on the wall. Just ask for them to sign it." Now, if they tell you, this is 2005 and 6. Now, Dr. Ardis, if they tell you anything, this will be the only thing that you might have to do. In Tennessee, they tell you at the health department that you have to sit with a nurse, which could be up to an hour long, and they have to tell you what are the risks associating with exempting your child from every named vaccine. And then the nurse can sign off after they tell you. And I said, "Oh, I'm not worried about that." So I drive, the next day is Monday. I have a 2-hour lunch break. I drive right over to the United States County Health Department in Maryville, Tennessee. I drive right over there. I walk up right up to the county, or the counter person, check-in person. I said, "I need the yellow form for vaccines." And the lady looked at me and went like this, "There is no such thing." And I said, "Oh, hold on. How long have you worked here?" And she goes, "I've been here 6 months." And I said, "Oh, you probably have never even seen this form, because no one I've talked to in the whole county even knew there was exemptions except for this one lady, and she was not from my county. She just happened to be in the state." So I said, go get your director. His name is Mickey Anderson. Hi, Mickey, wherever you are. Go get your director and tell him to come out here and give me the yellow form for my kids to go to school here without vaccines." She goes to his office, and not a joke, behind the filing cabinets with all the files comes this lady. She's like in her 50s, and she's one of my patients at my office. And I did not know she worked there. And her name was Vicky. And Vicky goes, "Dr. Ardis, what are you doing here?" And she comes walking up to the counter, and I said, "Vicky, what are you doing here? I thought you were a nurse." And she goes, "I am. I'm the head nurse of the United States Health Department here in the county." And I was like, "Oh, how long have you worked here?" 25 years, Dr. Ardis. And I was like, "Oh, you definitely know. Where's the yellow form for vaccine exemptions for my kid to go to school?" And not a joke, she goes like this. She leans forward through the window they have opened, separating the waiting room and them. She sticks her head through the window and looks to my right and then looks to my left to all the empty chairs in the waiting room. And she goes, "Dr. Ardis," whispers it to me, "How do you know about that form?" And I said, I backed up and I went just like this. "Hold up, Vicky, why are you whispering and making sure no one else hears this conversation?" And she goes, Dr. Ardis, we don't advertise that form." And I said, "Hold up, hold up. Where do we live? In communist China? I thought this was America." This is exactly what I said. "Vicky, I thought we lived in America where people were allowed to know their rights. What do you mean you don't advertise this form?" And I'm looking around like, "Wait, you keep this from people? That there's this form that you guys will just give us and we don't have to vaccinate anybody. We have that right, but you don't tell people they have that right. Is that what I'm hearing?" And she goes, No, Dr. Ardis, we're not allowed to advertise that form." I said, "I need the form. Now, I know I have a right. I learned from a mom in Nashville. I have the right. Give me the form." She goes just like this. She reaches over, doesn't even move. And there's a pink form, and she puts it on the counter. She goes, "It's not yellow anymore. It's pink." I said, "I don't care what color it is." That lady, the girl who walked away first, who'd only been there 6 months, comes walking out of Mickey Anderson's office and goes, "I'm sorry, Dr. Ardis, there is a form. I just didn't know about it." And the nurse patient of mine goes, "He's got it. I've got it here. I know." And then she says this to me, Steve, as she's putting in information in the computer about what she's about to do with me. She goes, I guess you grew up in a different generation than me," is what she says under her breath. And I said, "Hold up, Vicky. You're like 40 years older than me. Of course you grew up in a different generation than me. But why did you say that?" I said, "Wait, why did you say that?" And she goes, "Because when I was growing up, I actually had kids in my neighborhood who were stricken by polio." And I said, "Okay." Not a joke. I went just like this. What does it have to do with our vaccine conversation? This is what I said. "Wait, wait, what does that have to do with this vaccine conversation? And she goes, oh, no, wait, hold on. Wait, don't tell me you actually think the polio vaccines got rid of polio. Wait, is that what you're about to say? And she goes, we all know that the polio vaccines eradicated polio. Not a joke. I went just like this. Hold up, Vicky. You just said you've worked here for 25 years. She goes, I have. I said, do you know who your employer is? And she goes, of course I do. It's the United States Health Department. I said, no, it isn't. When you get your paycheck every other Friday, who's in the top left-hand corner? Who's paying you? It isn't the United States Health Department. And she said it. She goes, it's the CDC. And I said, right. The CDC employs you. Have you not been on your employer's website and looked up all the statistics on polio and the polio vaccine when it was introduced? And she goes, no. And I said, okay, I need you to do me a favor. When's your next appointment with me? She goes, it's on Thursday. I said, good. I want you to go on your employer's website, type in polio in the search engine, look at the exponential growth rate of polio cases and when it was eradicated and when the polio vaccine was introduced. And when you come in on Thursday, you have to tell me, not only now that you know polio vaccines do not cure polio from America, you now have to tell me after you see the data on your employer's website, you have to tell me before you come in, when you realize polio vaccines had nothing to do with it, you have to come and tell me, how did we get rid of polio? What was the real reason it went away? That's what your job is by Thursday. She comes walking in on Thursday. Oh, by the way, I'm looking at her and she goes, Dr. Ardis, you have to sit with a nurse here for an hour to hear about all the risk of the vaccines you're about to exempt before we can sign off on this document. And I said,
you mean the risk of not taking the vaccine?
Yep. These are the risks of you not giving your kid the
because
vaccine.
there's no risk at all for getting the vaccine.
Exactly right. And I went just like this. Hold on, Vicky. Vicky, I will sit with you for an hour listening to your risks of every vaccine I'm not going to give my kids. However, you got to go back into Mickey's office, the director. I said, you got to go into Mickey's office. I knew Mickey. Go get Mickey and get him to approve a second hour for you to be off because you have to listen to me for a whole hour. I'm going to walk you through every published risk about every vaccine if I gave them to my kid that you're not going to tell me. And if your director will listen to 2 hours of you being away from your job to talk to me and listen to me, I will do this. So go get his approval for a second hour to be away from work, just talking to me and listening to me. And she goes, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to sign the document. I've been here longer than Mickey. So she signs the document and gives it to me. I was like, oh my God, Vicky. Okay, when you come in on Thursday, you have to tell me if you still believe the polio vaccine got rid of polio. She comes walking in my office. I see her on Thursday. I said, hey, Vicky, what'd you learn from your employer's website? And not a joke. She looks at me, Steve, and she goes, the polio vaccine definitely didn't get rid of polio. And I said, isn't it amazing that you are repeating and regurgitating this fraud, even though your employer has it on their website and it's very obvious that's no way that it got rid of it? And she goes, I know, but I can't come up with an answer for you. You told me the assignment was to tell you what really got rid of polio. And I said, that's okay. I'm going to teach you some more. Don't worry. Anyway, I have gone through state counties. I've gone to state capitol buildings to make sure I get every document. In Texas, it was much easier. By the time I moved to Texas 5 years later, I could just go on their website and download a form and then go get it notarized at the bank every single year for all 5 of my children. I have done it every single year, even in universities. In Texas, you're required to get a meningitis vaccine. None of my kids got one, and they went to colleges in Texas. I just got them an exemption form the whole time.
Wow. That is a great story.
A true story. So when you ask me about COVID-19 vaccines, I'm like, that's really funny. No, I would have never done that. Never.
That is amazing that you found that out. Did you ever run into anybody else who knew about that exemption form?
No, not in Tennessee, only that mother. I would teach people after that, but nobody else knew. In fact, every school, Steve said, we need your kids' vaccine schedule before they get started on day one. And I would go, open the file. Do you see the pink form that says vaccine exemption? Not a single school had ever seen that form, Steve. Ever.
Wow.
Ever. They had no idea. And every person that had to look at that as an administrator or staff member of the school was shocked that there was a document that actually exempted my child from getting vaccines because my kids were almost the only one in any of those schools.
So there must have been like huge epidemics of disease in all of the schools that your kids attended. Is that correct? I mean,
Rampant.
like
Man,
the
my
kids must have
my kids
been
were like the
right.
Black Plague, running around.
Yeah, they like your kids must have died from all of these vaccine preventable diseases, and they must have led to the death of hundreds of other students because they were not vaccinated, right?
Right. Steve, can I continue the story? Because it's amazing. It's even better. Okay, you ready? This is literally the dumbassery I've put up with for the last 25 years. I could share 2 stories that would sum it all up, but I'm going to give you the next one.
So, but for polio, before we get off of polio here, I mean, polio was basically pesticides, right?
Yes. Oh,
DDT.
yeah. They knew it was pesticides that was creating this. I mean, they knew there was poisoning occurring to create those symptoms. One of the things that's amazing, though, if you look at the statistics for the polio vaccine, it was only introduced when 90% of all cases had already been dismissed, removed, remitted. It was on its way out. And then all of a sudden, the last 10% remaining, they introduced the polio vaccine, then give it credit for all of the other eradication. It's ridiculous. So once you see it, you can't unsee it. So my son...
Most people, by the way, never saw it, right? Never see the graphs, right? I mean, you say that like 99... it's got to be like 999 out of 1,000 people. If you asked about polio, they would have that same reaction that, oh, you weren't around when, kids got polio and when they rolled out the vaccine,
Steve, I've done this for 25 years now. Any pediatrician who would look at me, any of my parents, grandparents who would shame me, judge me for not vaccinating my kids, I'd go like this. So you're convinced the vaccines are amazing, huh? Yeah. I'd go like, that's great. You're really convinced that they are incredibly health benefiting? Yes. And immune protective? Yes. You sure? Yeah, good. If you're so convinced, I want you to name 3 ingredients in any of the vaccines you say are so great for my kid or myself. Name them. Go. Not a single human can name one amazing ingredient in any of the crap they blindly recommend without any education whatsoever. So this is what I've said during COVID-19, even at this event in Rhode Island, the Better Way Conference. I actually said this, just so y'all know, there is no pro-vaxxer, anti-vaxxer movement. That is not what's going on. It is either you are pro-vaccine or you're educated. You're either ignorant about vaccines or you're educated. That's it. Because everyone who educates themselves at all for 5 minutes, 10 minutes on any vaccine, vaccine ingredients, vaccine research studies. Oh, okay, come on. SIDS isn't created by any vaccines, really? Then how come 90% of all babies that are found dead in their cribs, 90% of them were within 48 hours of a vaccine? How can you say there's no correlation?
It's coincidence.
This is crazy. Okay.
It's because and the answer that they give is because, well, SIDS happens during certain periods of life, and it turns out that when kids get vaccines, it just happens to coincide with the natural time that babies get SIDS.
Oh, it's natural for kids to stop breathing.
No. But you see, you have to also believe that, when they go in, they always make sure to be on the other side of the curve, because if it's a curve, you always want to come into the doctor's office right before the curve goes up, right? Because that way the deaths will always happen after the doctor visit. Because if you wait too long to go to the doctor, then your kids may die of SIDS, naturally before they got the vaccine, but there are no kids that do that. So all parents wait until the optimum time to vaccinate their kids, so that causes that statistic, right? That is how they explain it, right? It's just it's a natural phenomenon, and just has to do with the timing of the kids, that they all go in right before the natural peak happens.
And just remember,
and it's amazing how that happens.
It's amazing how it correlates.
It's amazing.
Right? But one of my favorite lame
one of the
excuses,
mysteries of science.
Yeah, one of my favorite lame excuses of any health professional ever, medical professional ever, is this phrase. And I wonder if they memorize this in school. I'm not really sure. Like you don't want to ever make a pharmaceutical look bad, so just say this. and I think they're tested on it because they all say it. Correlation does not equal causation. Wait, where is that true? Not in science. You learned in kindergarten. There's a principle of cause and effect. Wait, it just doesn't apply to medicine? No, just because 90% of all kids die with SIDS right after a vaccine has nothing to do with that. Oh, really? That sounds like the case I learned during COVID-19, Steve, when you and I were going around Capitol buildings and yapping during COVID. I remember hearing about a lady up in Oregon or Washington getting run over by a bus, had tire tracks across her body. The coroner shows up, PCR tests the dead body with tread marks across her body, and they said
Died
the
from
primary
COVID.
cause of death was COVID-19, secondary motor vehicle accident. What?
Totally.
Hold up.
So it works.
What? It only works this way in medicine. Correlation does not equal causation. Just because
There
I
you go.
gave my 4-month-old, Steve, for real, an antibiotic that gave him a grand mal seizure in 2 minutes, and he's never had a grand mal seizure before or since, the medical doctor yelled in my ear, that medication I prescribed your 4-month-old would have never done that, Dr. Ardis. What did you do to your baby? Did you shake your baby or drop your baby? Oh, my God. You can't take any responsibility for the crappy drugs these companies are making and telling you to sell. You didn't make
Totally.
the antibiotic. Why are you blaming me? I'm not holding you accountable. You prescribed something you thought was safe. You were told was safe by your pharmaceutical rep. I'm not blaming you. I want your help. How do I get my kid to calm down from this flailing seizure I don't know how to control? Anyway, correlation definitely equals causation in a lot of cases. So just remember that. Don't blindly accept that.
Right. Yeah. The way I put it is that the number one cause of correlation is causation.
I like that, Steve. That was good. I like it.
Yeah.
So,
There you
Steve,
go.
to continue, the story is ridiculous. All right. My son gets the vaccine exemption. I put it in his file. He goes up to the school during the summer to meet his teacher for the first time, his first ever kindergarten teacher. And for the next month, he's talking about this teacher by name. Can't wait to meet her. Thinks she's so nice. He can't wait. He's so excited. He gets into class. Day one, I take him up there. Then I go to my practice. And within an hour, his mother gets a phone call from the school, from the teacher that he's been waiting to meet and be in class with for a year, only to hear her tell my kid's mama that Bryce, my oldest, has been moved to a different class. And the mom goes, hold up. Why are you moving him to another class? He's been excited about meeting you and being in your class for a month. Why did you move him? And she said this. I'm sorry, but I just had to move him for numbers reason. And she goes, no, why did you target my son? Why did you pick Bryce? And she goes, okay, I need to be honest with you. This is not a joke, everybody. Listen, this is in 2006. I'm sorry, Miss Ardis. I just need to tell you something. My fertility specialist told me that I can never teach an unvaccinated child and it might get in the way of me being able to become pregnant. I have not been able to get pregnant for years with in vitro fertilization. And my doctor told me that if I have an unvaccinated kid in my class, that could get in the way of me getting pregnant. So I'm moving him out of the class to a different class. The mom calls me at work. I literally canceled all my patients and drove right up to the school, walked right up to the front desk, and there's 2 girls with an older guy in the middle. And I said, where is Principal so-and-so? And he looks up and he goes, you must be Mr. Ardis. And I said, no, I'm Dr. Ardis. Get your ass up and get into your office. It must be you. And he stands up, goes into his office. He was the principal. And I asked him, did you allow the teacher to move my son to another class because he was unvaccinated? And he said, well, she said the doctor said this could get in the way of her being able to have a family. And I said, did she hand you proof signed by the medical doctor that Bryce Ardis is a plague to her efforts to become pregnant? Did she hand you something written by the doctor, signed by the doctor? No. So it's just hearsay. Yes. Okay. Within 1 hour, you will have my kid back in that classroom, or I'm going to sue you. And I'm going to, tell the doctor, by the way, tell the teacher to get a doctor to write that letter and sign it. Because if he does sign it, I'm going to sue him too, because he's lying. There is no proof that teaching an unvaccinated kid gets in the way of people getting pregnant. Not a joke. Within 10 minutes, he calls me on my drive back to work and says, everything's handled. He's back into the class. Please don't threaten lawsuits or anything else. Okay. Thank you. Not a joke. Within 2 weeks, she's told she's pregnant for the first time with twins. and then has to go on literally maternity leave and bed rest, misses like over half of the entire school year. And I actually called the principal after found out she was pregnant with twins. I called the principal and I said, do you see what happens when you're in the presence of a kid that's very healthy and not vaccinated? You get more than you asked for with babies. I said, this is the plus, is being with the kid. And I told the principal that day, though, Steve, I said, you're going to move my kid back into that class because I have 4 other kids coming up every year behind them. And you will not treat the Ardises like they're a plague because they're unvaccinated. I will not let this start now, and I will not let my kids be treated or ostracized or treated like they're crap and can be moved from class to class. You're not doing that. So you're going to set the precedence right now that these kids are going to be here. I went through all the legal channels, the right channels to make sure they could attend here, and there's no risk. So bring it on. Anyway, I had to do that, and it really sucked that day, but I was really glad to get them back in class. I was that Papa Bear that made sure these kids were taken care of and protected for the last 20 years.
So are teachers going to object now because they don't want to have twins or triplets and so forth, and say that they can't afford to have an unvaccinated kid because they would get pregnant when they didn't want to get pregnant, or get more kids than what they expected? Is it now going to work the other way?
Yeah, I want to hear these OBGYNs and MDs, medical professionals, tell their clients, you know what, if you want more than one child, you just have to be around the healthy, unvaccinated children. Exactly.
So did you ever have a chat with the doctor who said that if you have any unvaccinated kids in your class, you're not going to get pregnant?
When the principal walked right from the office to the teacher's office, the teacher said the doctor will never sign a note like that. He'll never sign his name to that statement. I said, oh, I know, because he knows I'm going to sue him. Like, he knows I'm going to come after him and his license, because this is totally a fraudulent claim and statement. You cannot say that. So anyway, there's no one that's ever published that, ever said that was true, ever. There's no scientific evidence to support it. So she just looked at him and said, no, my doctor would never say that, would never sign that, sorry. Just bring him back into the classroom. Yep.
So do these people wake up when you point this stuff out to them, or do they do you think she's going to vaccinate her kids that she's about to have, or do you think that she's, does it flip her, or is she still in the same mindset?
There are a lot of people that when I bring up the data and show them these points for the last 20 plus years, a lot of them will shift, still vaccinate, but shift to like a delayed schedule because they think that's better. Like, they will do that more often than say, I ain't ever doing that again. Because part of them,
they don't like to,
they don't want to give it up. Okay.
Give it up. Yep.
They want to give it up. And they don't want to confront or get combative or be shamed or judged or gaslit by a medical professional in front of family or children. So a lot of people just don't have the backbone you and I have, Steve, where we can just stand up and say that something's wrong here and you're treating another human being incorrectly. And you should be nicer, more authentic and genuine.
Okay, so that's a phenomenal story about the form and the exemptions. I mean,
it's been a long road,
I've never heard
Steve.
a story like that before. Do you have any others like that you think would be of interest to our audience that might be relevant to their, certainly if you're in any of those states. So there's a form in Tennessee and a form in Texas?
Yeah, if you're in Texas, by the way, you can actually go on texas.gov. In the search tab of that website, texas.gov, in the search tab, type in vaccine exemption, and it pulls up a form, and you fill it out online. How many kids by name, their age, birth date for that year, and what vaccines you're exempting them from. You just check all the boxes, and then the state sends it to you in cardstock. They mail it to you like 2 days later, and then you take it to your bank and you just have it notarized to make it a legal document. So you just go to the bank, get it notarized, and you turn it in.
You don't have to spend an hour with the nurse?
Nobody. You don't have to talk to a human. You just turn them in. I did that for all my kids in college. I've done that for all of them in school, in public school, elementary, middle, high school.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
That's awesome. I've never heard about that before.
Yeah,
so okay, so what?
Do that now.
So we don't have a lot of time. What other things? Are there other things like that would be that people listening to the show would want to know that they don't know? Because like what you just told me is something I've never heard of. I've been doing this for a long time. I've never heard and just like you had never heard of this vaccine exemption form, and it's like, man. So are there some other things like that?
Yes. I would like to share another vaccine story. You ready? With my kids. This is relevant to all of you at home. And I think Livio, that's his name, right? Livio, who's just on here.
Yep. That's
Yes,
his
it
name.
is.
Yep.
Yeah, Livio. He was there listening to my speech on last week in Rhode Island. So I just want
He
to.
was guilty.
Yeah, he's guilty. All right, so I just want to tell a story I relayed there, and a lot of people resonated with this and found it very humorous. Okay, I had my own family members for holidays. Multiple times they would call parents, grandparents, in-laws, and go, "Is Brian bringing his kids to Christmas? Bringing his kids to Easter? Is Brian and his kids coming?" And if they heard yes, multiple times, they would tell the grandparents or the uncles or the nieces, wherever the event was going to be, they would say, "I'm sorry, I'm not bringing my children around his unvaccinated children." Now, Steve, this has been going on for 25 years. I would call the cousin, uncle, whoever. I would call them and say, "Hold up, did you just tell Grandma and Grandpa you're not coming to Christmas, whatever, because your children might be around my unvaccinated children?" Yes. And they'd go like this, "Hold up, did you vaccinate your kids?" Yes. I'd always say, "Wait, did you vaccinate your kids?" "Of course." "Okay. Why are you worried about being around my unvaccinated kids? I thought you believed the vaccines provided armor to protect your kids from getting infections. I thought that was the purpose of the vaccines." The fact that you opened your mouth to grandma, grandpa, uncles, aunts, whoever, and said out loud, "I'm not bringing my vaccinated kids around his unvaccinated kids," you actually are saying out loud, "We don't believe these provide protection." So this is what I'd say to him, Steve. So aunt, uncle, cousin, whoever. So are you going to stop vaccinating your kids because you know they don't work? You are actually saying out loud, you know they don't work. Are you going to stop vaccinating? No, I'm going to keep vaccinating them. Why? The purpose of vaccinating your kids supposedly is to allow them to go out into the world and be immune to whatever you vaccinated them against. Of
course, you can't get the disease. Everybody knows if you get vaccinated, you can't get the disease.
Anybody who says, if that person's unvaccinated and I'm vaccinated and I'm afraid of you, you are actually saying out loud, "We know the vaccines don't work." Okay, great. Stop doing them. It's great. The only people that should be afraid would be me. I would say this to my family members. Don't you think I should be the one afraid to bring my kids around y'all? Y'all have the armor. Maybe
right, exactly. My kids are unarmed.
So yeah, my kids have no armor of immunity. I'm the one bringing them exposed, all of you who are protected. I should be the one kicking myself out of these events. It doesn't even make any sense. So anyway, during COVID-19, all these COVID-19 vaccines, you have to be COVID-19 vaccinated in order to hug your cancer-laden father, mother, whoever. I'm like, what? This is ridiculous. Okay, does the vaccine work? Did the person get the vaccine? Then why do the people around them need to get the vaccine if they don't want it? I thought the vaccine worked. It's the most ridiculous argument ever.
Yeah, anybody says
just know, they don't work. It's okay.
Yeah. No, the claim, of course, since we've heard that argument before, is that, the vaccines aren't 100%. They may be 98%, so we don't want to subject our child to additional risk because we don't want them to be the 2% where it didn't work for. They are protected, but the armor is not foolproof, and so therefore we're trying to reduce the risk. So let me ask you this. Were your kids the only unvaccinated kids in your school?
Yes.
Wow. Yep. That armor just doesn't work, does it?
And they've never been sick. They never missed any school days ever. Seriously, I'm not even joking. They never missed a school day, never needed antibiotics. They're totally healthy. No medical conditions, no medications prescribed to them for lifelong illnesses. No nothing. No asthma inhalers for asthma. No nothing. There's just nothing. They're totally fine.
So are there any cases of a child dying and they could attribute it to an unvaccinated kid in the last 50 years in the United States?
Not that I'm aware of. I've never seen it. Never seen the evidence. Have you seen it? I haven't.
No.
Never seen it. I have not seen it.
Still searching.
Nope. No, I've just never seen it. I even found it interesting when Disneyland, remember Disneyland in California, they had that outbreak of measles and they wanted to blame it on the unvaccinated. The majority of the kids who had the measles, confirmed, actually were vaccinated for measles. Well, hold on.
What?
Hold on. I don't
What?
care. I
You
don't
mean
care.
the measles vaccine doesn't work?
I mean, come on. I mean, if 10 kids did not get vaccinated and expose the other vaccinated, how come the vaccines didn't protect them? And I want to quote 100% of all package inserts for all vaccines. I quote, on the package insert for every vaccine ever, it says, as with all other vaccines, this vaccine does not guarantee protection from this infection. Oh, and it doesn't say a percentage. It just says, as in all vaccines, this one also does not guarantee protection from this infection. Okay, hold up. Then why are all hospital workers and staff workers required to get a flu vaccine every year to work? If every flu vaccine says it doesn't guarantee protection, why are you told you have to have that vaccine to protect you from getting the flu while in the hospital? And if you don't, you have to wear a mask every year. Why? And then why do they lock you down and say you can't come to school, you can't participate in activities, whatever, mandate, lockdown, and pandemic? If it says on the packet it doesn't guarantee it, why would you mandate any of these products if they don't guarantee immunity?
Of course, the argument is that, oh, well, yes, it's not 100%, but it's 90%, and that's why they say it can't guarantee it, and 90% is better than 0%. Okay, I'll play devil's advocate for you, but
yeah, well, then I would go like this.
I
Great.
agree with it.
Now, let's just pretend you are the devil, and I'd go like this. Great. You're the devil's advocate. I'd go, great. Steve, great. What's the efficacy rate lifetime of the flu vaccines?
It's 0.
It's
zero
what's the
for
efficacy
mortality.
rate for all of them, or for all the flu vaccines?
Oh, flu vaccines don't work.
Yeah, they actually
don't protect
publish
anyone.
even an efficacy
They
rate.
don't. 0 for hospitalization and mortality.
Amen.
0.
0. Wow, that's
0.
amazing. Lifetime, and this is the one before COVID. It's the only one that we're all told from the time we're born in America, starting at 6 months old, you have to get
You
one
need to get it
every
every
year until you're buried.
That's right. Every year. Yeah.
Every year.
But
has a 0% efficacy rate.
Even though it doesn't work, and the NIH has said it doesn't work.
However,
The NIH, you know about the NIH study in 2005, right?
maybe if you remind me of what it showed, I'll probably recall 2005.
Cheryl Atkinson did a nice segment on this. This is in 2005, and the NIH was studying the flu vaccines, and they wanted to prove that the flu vaccines worked. So they did a very detailed study, and they found out that no matter how hard they massaged the data to make it look effective, they couldn't honestly write a paper that showed that the flu vaccine worked. So they admitted in their paper that the flu vaccine didn't work. And what happened was that when Cheryl Atkinson tried to contact the NIH to talk to the scientists, the NIH said, you're not allowed to talk to our scientists about this paper. Talked about any other paper that shows the vaccines work. But for a paper that shows vaccines don't work, journalists are not allowed to talk to any NIH scientists. So she had to talk to the one scientist on the paper who wasn't employed by the NIH, who said, yeah, we tried to look for a signal, but there was no signal. It doesn't work. And then in much more recently, there's a discontinuity study that was done by Anderson. It was in the UK, where in the UK, when you turn 65, they're like free flu vaccines. So the number of flu vaccines that they give goes up by like 20%. It's a step function. It's a discontinuity, right? Because everybody's at some level of vaccination. They hit 65 and boom, step function in vaccination because it's free. And so Anderson looked back for 10 years or so of data, and he found there's no step function discontinuity in hospitalization during flu season when you turn 65. Well, if the vaccines worked, then the step function in vaccination would have produced a step function in the other way, in admissions and death. No step function. It was continuous. There was no signal. It's undeniable. It is insane that anybody, like you have to have, like, where are your critical thinking skills? It's, if like if you ask someone, you take the flu shot every year, right? And they say, yeah. Okay, so you're looking at somebody who has no critical thinking skills, or was just people never brought it up to them that, hey, here's what the data shows. It's so obvious. It was obvious over 20 years ago. And we're still in this, belief land. So what about vaccines and autism? How about that, Brian? Do you have a great story on vaccines and autism? Like you get a vaccine and boom, the kid gets a fever, takes Tylenol, and boom, the kid goes lights out, like 24 to 48 hours after a vaccine. That story has been told over and over and over again. And for some reason, Brian, and I can't figure it out, that sequence never happens before a vaccination. It always seems to happen right after a vaccination. I can't understand it because we all know vaccines don't cause autism because science says there's no connection.
Remember, Steve, correlation does not equal causation in the world of medicine. It just doesn't apply to medicine. Got it. Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. I hate that damn phrase. Every time somebody says it, I'm like, stop saying that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So what's your story on autism and vaccines?
All right. So for autism, I've heard this argument for years. I was really grateful after seeing information starting in 2001, doing my own research, just how much elevated risk of autism there was with vaccines versus those unvaccinated. I had read studies about Amish populations done by a journalist out of Washington, D.C. It was amazing. Reviewed the genetics and family history and genealogy of all the Amish in Pennsylvania for over 100 years. They only found 2 kids who even had described symptoms of autism because the Amish don't vaccinate at all, ever. They just don't. They found 2 kids who had symptoms of autism. And you know what was amazing about these 2 kids? They were both mass vaccinated in India before they were adopted into the Amish community. And that was it. And then that was published in the mainstream media. Just total coincidence, yeah. So anyway, I knew all this stuff and I was like, okay, good. Now, this is what I have to say about autism. What you've all been told. Now, Steve, I know you're older than I am. I hope you're older than I am. I think you're older than I am.
I am. I will always be older than you are.
I think you'll always be older than me. So you're my senior. My wife is also older than me, Jane, that you have met. And I've actually asked my wife and people older than me. Okay, so honey, when you went to public school, when you were in elementary school, middle school, and high school, back in your day, like in my day, were there multiple autism kid classrooms of special ed? When you were in school, did you have whole classrooms of autistic kids? Because when I was a kid growing up in Georgia, I knew of like 2 Down syndrome kids, and that was about all you called special ed. That's all I had in school. I said, I never had all these autism kids all over the classes like we do now. So this is what I would say to everybody out there. You are being told, and for the last 15, 20 years, I've heard it, that autism has been around for millennia. It's just becoming more recognized now because we have tools to better diagnose it. Hold up. I can destroy that argument in about 2 seconds. So anybody that repeats that to me, I always go like this. Oh, really? Yeah. You believe that? You believe, it's usually the younger generations, like 30s and younger, that all believe autism's been around forever, same rate as it has always been. It just wasn't called autism until recently. We now have diagnostic abilities to determine what's autism and what isn't. And then I'd go like this. Oh yeah? Really? Great. Good. I want you to do me a favor. If it's the same rate, percentage of the population of human beings on Earth, I want you to find me a number of individuals in their 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s years old who are all autistic. And it better be at the same percentage of the 20s, teens, kids right now. And every person who's in the autism space, and I'm not joking, even those that are behavioral therapists that work with autistic kids, I will ask them this, and they always say this to me. I'm not talking to you anymore. I can't think of one. And they walk off. And I'm like, whoa. You can't even think of one? You can't find me some 90-year-old autistic people, some 80-year-old autistic. I thought you said it was around for millennia, and we have the tools to diagnose it. Where's all these numbers? Where are they? I haven't even asked you, Steve, but I would ask you, in your school growing up, in any of your schools, did you have whole classrooms in every school, like in every public school now, there are multiple classrooms full of autistic kids. Did you have them?
No such thing. No such thing when I was growing up.
Even if it wasn't autism, did you see the traits
No.
of kids on the
Zero.
playground in your school that had autistic traits that now you know is autistic?
Zero.
Zero. Autism spectrum disorder. Did you see these kids? No, we did not see these kids. And I went to school in the 70s and 80s. So no, I didn't see it. But now you see it in every school I take my kids to. There are just multiple classrooms with multiple teachers overseeing just autistic kids. And
Gosh,
find
I
it
wonder what the cause
absurdly
is.
disgusting, personally.
Wonder what the cause is. You know, with you take the Amish community and you look at the stats there, and some Amish are actually vaccinated. Most are not.
Yep.
But like really, really rare. I traveled to Amish community in Pennsylvania, and it was so cool.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so you know, you had and I walked to various homes and just had nice conversations with the people there. They're like super camera shy. You know, that's the and they don't like to use phones, but some of them actually do have their phones. They don't use them that much, but they do have the modern conveniences. But I couldn't find anyone who knew anyone who was autistic that was unvaccinated. So definitely.
Well, I remember hanging out with you
checked it out
in
firsthand.
Hershey's. Remember that in Pennsylvania? We were very close to all the Amish people there in Pennsylvania during COVID.
Yeah. I think that's when I did it.
Yeah, that was fun.
Was it? Yeah. In fact, that was when I did it. That's when. Yeah, because I was right there in Pennsylvania. I took a drive. It was like 2 hours away.
That's awesome.
And
that was a fun trip. That was you, me, Thomas Renz, Peter McCullough, in the State Capitol building, and going over to Hershey's Lodge or something. That was a really cool event. Yeah.
Yeah. But what a delight to talk with the Amish people. I mean, I really enjoyed
Amish
it.
and Mennonites, awesome people. Love them.
They're super friendly and down to earth, and I walked into a barn where they're milking the cows, and it's like you just don't see this stuff anymore. So
Steve, we need to go back to Pennsylvania, and you need to ask the Amish how many Amish experience a child experiencing SIDS.
Oh, great question. Yep.
What if they told you none? That doesn't happen.
Yeah, and of course there's the extreme cases like the McDowell. You know about the McDowell triplets, right? No, okay. Only time in human history where triplets get autism at the same time. And then I'm going to tell you something else. It was 2 hours after their vaccine. What a coincidence. The only time in human history where this event, which randomly occurs because it's biological, and it happens simultaneously in non-identical triplets, and it happens 2 hours after their vaccine, not 2 hours before. It wasn't like the first one was 2 hours before and the other ones were 2 hours after. It was all three of them started 2 hours after their vaccine. What a coincidence.
Well, common sense does not apply to medicine. Remember, correlation does not equal causation.
Totally. I'm there.
I injected you with this thing. It's only safe and effective. Oh, let's go back to the flu vaccines for fun, just real quick. You know what's amazing about the 0% efficacy with the flu vaccines? Even if you go to the highest data points, they'll say 4% efficacy rate lifetime for all flu vaccines. Okay, great. Do you know what is published by the FDA to have a 4% rate side effect from flu vaccines lifetime? Do you know what that side effect is? That is at 4 to 6% of all that get flu vaccines? Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is literally identical to polio symptoms.
4% get GBS from the flu vaccine?
Yes, and you can look it up. It's amazing. They will publish this 4% with flu vaccines over and over and over, GBS, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Wow. You're either creating as much paralyzed people as you are maybe protecting some from the flu. That is absurd numbers.
No. You're not protecting anyone from the flu. Believe it.
No, I know.
There's no question. There's no question.
Dumb.
All right, Livio. Audience questions.
I remember exactly when we had our first special ed classes. I grew up in South Florida. I'm half Cuban, half Dominican, and it was 1980 when we had our first special ed classroom full of special ed kids, but it was special ed ESL, English as a second language. It was all the Mariel boat lift kids who had come over from Cuba, and they didn't speak English, so they got special ed, but they did not have autism. So I just thought I'd
those are not the same. You're right. Yep. Wow.
Not the
Very
same
different.
at all. Very different. All right, let me just jump to questions because I want to thank Upstart Insubordinate for the first question, which is, are you going to answer the question in the title? Why are we so sick? And what do we do about it? What can we do about it?
Why are we so sick?
Stop getting vaccines.
Okay, number one, don't inject poisons. That's a direct way to get sick. Okay, so we are sickened by the internal environment and the external environment we expose ourselves to. So there's poisons in your air, water, food, cosmetics. Those chemicals leach through your body, through your skin, into your bloodstream, into your mouth, through your airways. I mean, you're exposed to nonstop poison assault. So how do you stay healthy in this sick world? It's really simple, actually. We teach people, and I have for years, to stop drinking anything other than water, distilled water to be exact. Drink water as God designed you to drink. And if you haven't watched all mammals on Earth, it's really funny about it. I teach all my patients this for 16 years. Name an animal on Earth that migrates across the African Sahara looking for Dr. Pepper pools. They don't. They don't look for Coors Light. They're not looking for wine. They're only looking for water. All mammals, all of life lives off of water, and you need to put water in your body. I really actually believe most of the illness in America is created by the things we drink that are not filtered, distilled water. And if you put that in, I mean, this is how the earth and God created the earth to create distilled water in the form of rain. That is what fresh water is, distilled water. All right. So number one is drinking. Don't poison yourself voluntarily. Don't drink the poison. Drink water. Your body needs it. And then let's go to your food. All right, so you can make choices for better food and not eat as often, actually. So you might want to try just 2 meals a day and stop eating as much. No, intermittent fasting is a great idea. Skip 2 meals, eat 1 meal. You're going to find your body's ability to heal, recover, energize itself is going to be much faster. All right, so the foods you eat matter. Number 3, please make sure you're sleeping without any Wi-Fi interference, EMF interference. We recommend grounding sheets, grounding mats, and grounding every day at some point, 15, 20 minutes a day outside. Grounding is super important. Get off of your tech. It is literally damaging all of the cells in your body, suppressing your immune system and creating problems. It's amazing. All right, so grounding is big deal. Red light therapy, red saunas. We recommend going out in the morning, early sun, dusk. Red light is when the sun's going down. You'll see the burnt amber in the skyline as the sunlight's coming up and down. That's when you want to be out in the sun, 10 to 20 minutes there, or get a red light sauna. And red light sauna is incredibly enhancing to your immune system. These are just very basic things you can do to stay healthy. And don't continue to poison yourself, and find organic products that are actually much better for you. So there's plenty of those companies now where it was very hard before. And then I think the next thing would be reduce your carbohydrate intake. 85% of all human beings are protein metabolizers, which means the more protein you eat, the leaner you stay, the more powerful your immune system is. But in this world, many of us live like we're carbohydrate metabolizers, and we eat more carbs than we do protein. So the majority of people are not designed that way. The majority of you are designed to benefit primarily off of protein and fats. So that's where I would go. There you go.
Fantastic. Those are all great things, and I'm doing a lot of them. So thank you.
Oh, and then people ask me all the time, well, what supplement can I take to detox stuff? And I'm like, look, since COVID started and they talked about the COVID-19 vaccines, EUA package inserts, I would talk about the PEG 2000 and the mRNA vaccines, and I'd talk about the polysorbate 80 and the Johnson & Johnson. I'd go like this. Look, it's real easy. Either eat the apple every day or take apple pectin powder. It'll bind to the poisons, the chemicals, and draw them out, and prevents from radiation poisoning. And it's the only thing scientists found at Chernobyl and at Fukushima to detox the cesium-137 from the thyroids of all people exposed who developed thyroid cancer. In 8 weeks, 1,400 milligrams of apple pectin powder was the only thing that detoxed that ionized radiation to prevent and restore normal function of their thyroid and reverse their thyroid cancers. So I recommend an apple a day. Keeps the doctor away, y'all. An apple a day. Go eat your apples or take your supplement.
Great advice. I love it.
Trying to keep it simple.
Dr. Laura asks, what are you using to clear the spike protein from vax-injured individuals, and how do you follow your patients? What tests do you use to determine if they are responding?
Yeah, very good. All right, so I am not in practice. I actually sold my practice in 2018. So I've been retired since 2018, out of practice. I don't see patients anymore. However, there are labs and medical professionals using our recommendations and what I wrote in my book, Moving Beyond the COVID-19 Lies. There's several chapters just dedicated to what's in the COVID-19 vaccines. So very specific. And I work directly with MDs all over the country, helping educate them on what to do with their long COVID vaccine injured patients. And it's amazing to watch what transforms in these people's lives when you teach them these things. Okay. In the COVID-19 vaccines, there is no mentioned mRNA in the vaccines. So if you go to the NIH's website and look at their COVID-19 mRNA, how we manufactured their vaccines, they tell you we didn't put any of the virus in the vaccine. We didn't put any mRNA. We only put DNA plasmids. And they show you the DNA plasmids. They actually show you on the chart. This is what we put in there. All right. So to understand how to heal people from vaccine injury, you have to understand DNA plasmid technology, which has been developed for 55 years by a doctor named Dr. Stanley Cohen, C-O-H-E-N. All right. He's the one that developed these things for the last half a century. DNA plasmids were injected into everybody that received what was called a COVID-19 mRNA vaccine. So the DNA plasmids, billions of them, were injected inside of your arm of whoever received them. And DNA plasmids program bacteria and yeast that thrive in the human body, the blood, the gut. It loves E. coli, it loves yeast. These DNA plasmids draw in the genetic material called DNA plasmids, and the bacteria and yeast start producing from the genetic sequence in the DNA plasmid what they have been instructed to produce. And in the case of COVID-19 vaccines, it was produce incessantly, forevermore, spike proteins of COVID. Okay? So in order to heal a vaccinated, you better do a stool analysis to determine, do any of these bacteria or yeast that can be genetically engineered by the DNA plasmids, are they present, and can we remove them? Because if you just got rid of the spike proteins, which I will tell you what will do it, there are things that will clear the body of the spike proteins. But if you don't kill the bacteria, the yeast, they're going to keep making more of it. So you've got to get rid of the bacteria. You've got to get rid of the yeast that are producing. They're like little biological weapons factories, just producing nonstop the rest of your life. Blood clotting spike proteins, turbo cancer causing spike proteins, myocarditis causing spike proteins. That's what they do. So you've got to kill the bacteria and the yeast. If you have E. coli, Enterobacter, Klebsiella, or Candida, these are their favorite microorganisms to program with the genetic material called DNA plasmids. So do a stool sample test, look for E. coli, Enterobacter, Klebsiella, and yeast. And if they're present, you got to wipe them out. Now, how do you wipe them out? Well, black cumin seed oil will wipe them out. Piperine will wipe out these engineerable bacteria and yeast. And I created a product actually, I don't know, 4 years ago. It's called Biodefense. It's all plant extracts, spearmint, peppermint, black cumin seed oil, and piperine, because they're all published to clear the body of gram-negative bacteria that are used in DNA plasmid technology. So to wipe those out, I just gave these people these organic plants to do it. So if you wipe out the bacteria, that's great. And then, as many people are learning, there are multiple things that denature the proteins called spike proteins. I don't know if you know this. Did you know red light therapy since 1905 has been published to destroy these protein structures within 10 minutes of being exposed to them?
Since 1905.
And John Harvey Kellogg wrote a book in 1905 called Light Therapeutics, and you can still buy it online. And he dives into how he used in 1905, 1880s to 1905, red light bulbs, to expose any of his patients with lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. Not a joke. He writes in 1905, a person even bitten by a venomous snake, I can neutralize all the snake venom within minutes, exposing their body to red light therapy. That's how intense red light therapy is. So you can use red light, you can use grounding, you can use exercise, detox principles, but licorice root extract, N-acetylcysteine, I know you've heard of nattokinase. Usually the therapeutic value is not enough in any supplements. It's 7,000 FU units are the proven dose if you're going to use nattokinase to denature these proteins. Glutathione destroys these proteins, called spike proteins. Vitamin C destroys these proteins. EDTA is published to completely inhibit those spike proteins that you call from the COVID-19 vaccine. So to denature those, you use those elements, and they're all written about, and I show you the research in the book, Moving Beyond the COVID-19 Lies. And it was just my attempt to try to help people understand the root cause of their problems. I've been doing that for the last 25 years, trying to help people understand your medical diagnosis has been stated to you. You've been told you're going to have it for life. And now I'm going to show you what the root cause is and how through diet, nutrition, exercise, and detox, we can reverse the entire scenario. That then your medical professional will look at you in the future and say, oh, I guess you don't have myocarditis anymore. You must have been misdiagnosed. My second favorite thing to hear an MD say, when you cure somebody of a condition, they go, oh, well, we're not going to believe that nature cured itself. No, we're going to say, we misdiagnosed you. All right, my second favorite excuse given by these health professionals, not giving the immune system God gave us the credit it deserves. It is a phenomenal organism, the human body.
The doctors that you're consulting with, what kind of success rates are they having with Vax Injured?
Oh, that's amazing. All right, so I don't know if you know who Carlo Brogna is, but Carlo Brogna is a researcher out of Italy. Incredible. So any of the programmed E. coli bacteria yeast, they are finding that if a medical professional identifies the bacteria or the yeast, they will then figure out within a 2-week period which antibiotic, if you use antibiotics, wipes out that specific bacteria that's in that patient's body that's been engineered to produce spike proteins. Or if it's a yeast organism, they will use an antifungal like diflucan or something else, and they will find that that works to eliminate it the moment they start treating them with these things. The moment they find the right antibiotic or the right plant extract that will neutralize the bacteria or the yeast, the moment they introduce it, within a week or less, they will start to see transformation in their patients' lives. And literally, the greatest example is Dr. Chetty in South Africa. 80% success rate. The last 10 to 15, 20% of them that he couldn't heal. He did stool sample analysis and sent them to Carlo Brogna and actually published again that there's bacteria in their bowels producing nonstop spike proteins. Just wipe it out. Wipe out the bacteria. And then it worked. It cleared up the rest of them. So it's pretty amazing. A lot of people. And it's just not one recommendation. I'm just going to tell you, there are actually published 36 different spike proteins related to the COVID, long COVID, and vaccine injury. So the majority of the things I've mentioned in this actual interview handle about 25 of the 36. And then there are other things that address the other ones. So there's things like berberine, there are things like barberry, there's other nutrients that handle the other ones. But that's why I wrote the book, Moving Beyond the COVID-19 Lies, so that if you tried some of these things and it didn't work after a month, you don't see improvements, you go to the next thing. And yeah, it's very exciting.
Great stuff, Dr. Ardis. Question from Ate My Brain, and another one.
Ate My Brain. It sounds like a parasite book.
We love Ate My Brain. And another one named Ocean Viewed, and they're similar questions. What is the status of the investigation regarding venom content in the Convid jab? And Dr. Ardis used to link snake venom. Yeah, Convid, that's what they wrote. Dr. Ardis used to link snake venom and the COVID-19 vaccine ingredients. Does he still think that is true?
Absolutely. So even at the event you were at there in Rhode Island, I put it up on the screen. I was actually asked by Tess Laurie, who organized the whole thing, will you please come and do your titled presentation that she gave me, Animal Venoms in Biologics? And I was like, oh yeah, baby, this is going to be fun. Let's dive into this one. And I put up on the screen, I showed everybody there, who are the creators of the mRNA vaccines. And their names are David Wiseman and Cataline Carrico. They just won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for the COVID-19 jabs, Convid jabs. That was funny. In October of 2023, they won the Nobel Prize in Medicine. Okay, well, if you go look at their research studies, which I just showed one of from 2011, they were being paid since 2009 by the NIH to produce gene therapy vaccines. mRNA gene therapy vaccines. That's in the funding sections of all the research studies by the NIH. And I showed in the material and methods section where I came up with there's snake venom in the vaccines. So I put it up on the screen. I said, I'm just going to highlight here the material and the methods to produce mRNA gene therapy vaccines. Ready? They write RNase A, RNase B, RNase C, RNase G, RNase T, J, and snake venom phosphodiesterase are used to cleave the mammal's RNA. Well, for me, I was like, wow, the word snake venom is sitting there in their research study. I mean, the word snake venom, I kind of made fun of it. I was like, can you guys read English? It says snake in English and venom in English. The next word is phosphodiesterase. Copy, paste that into Google. What does snake venom phosphodiesterase do in the human body? Oh my God, the very first thing on page 1, Bentham Science has an entire article called Phosphodiesterases from Snake Venom. And it says in the very first abstract, the very first summary paragraph, it says snake venom phosphodiesterase causes rapid platelet aggregation. What is that? Blood clotting. Oh my God, what do you call these shots? You call them clot shots. Oh my God, it's amazing. All right, well, if that's in there and they're using that to make it, then I showed everybody there. I said, I just want y'all to know, it's not just the snake venom phosphodiesterase that made me worry about snake venom being in the shots causing blood clots. Look at the RNases references that they're using also in these gene therapy shots. In that Bentham Science article, it actually reads RNases, which are quoted in the COVID-19 making of their vaccines. RNases are universally found in all snakes' venoms. Oh, well, that's great. Good. So you're using other venom proteins inside these shots. This is ridiculous. You know what's amazing too? Did you know the CDC produced a document for pediatricians? And in the precautions section for COVID-19 vaccines for pediatricians, it says these are not contraindications. And do you know it says if the patient has ever had an allergy to venom, they're not excluded from this vaccine. It's the only vaccine in the world I can find that actually says, even if the kid is allergic to venom, you still give it to them. I'm like, whoa, 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 what? It actually has venom on there. And Dr. Richard Bartlett, MD, the ER doc out of Odessa, sent me that CDC document. It was like, holy crap, they even warned. This is not a reason not to give the shot. Even if they're allergic to venom, you give it to them anyway. Oh my God, what? That's crazy. Psycho. Okay, great. Oh, so everybody watch it. I have never told anybody I'm doing this. All right, so just so y'all know, me and Italian researcher Carlo Brogna are literally working with a lab out of New York to create a blood, urine, and feces test over this next year with a 3-phase research study. And we're going to use an MD in Florida with her 6,000 patients she's working with that are long COVID and vaccine injured as our research pupils and students. We are going to confirm or exclude, finally, this whole discussion about venom and COVID. We've actually found a lab that can confirm that they can analyze in urine, blood, and feces the 36 different animal venoms called spike proteins of COVID. And yes, I will be financing the whole project. Yes, I can't wait for it because the moment any of those come back positive, and it's already been done in 5 different countries, I want it in America. It has not been done here. I'm going to do it. And I cannot wait to either let this topic go or finally have a test that medical professionals can order on behalf of their patients that can confirm what's there, and then they can go do their own research that I have put together also in the COVID-19 Lies book, which is how do you denature these proteins after they've been introduced to the body, either by the creature or by a vaccine or a drug or wherever. So that's what we're working on, and we're very excited about it, but that will be coming out this year, and then everybody will have access to this test, and blood, urine, and feces, they can do it. It's going to be exciting.
Great.
And Carlo Brogna is working alongside with me to actually work with the research team at the lab to develop it because he's been able to confirm the exact same finding, 5 different countries, 5 different DNA labs. That every
How much will it cost?
Well, we don't have a price yet. We're going to figure that out. So, but I had to get the research lab to look at the materials and methods of Carlo Brogna and his team in Italy, how they've reconstructed this test over and over and over. It's amazing. Not only did they find the vaccine in the vaccinated and long COVID patients and acute COVID patients, in every blood, urine, and feces sample, they found 20 different animal venoms from snakes, 15 cone snail venoms from creatures in the ocean, and 1 starfish venom called the crown of thorns starfish in 100% of PCR tested positive sick COVID patients, and they never found one of them in anybody that tested negative. And this has been done over and over and over and over. And for me, it's like, great, let's go see if we can prove this here and provide a valuable tool to assess volumes of venoms. This is one of the things we got to go through in this test. How do you determine what's a safe level of these individual venom proteins or spike proteins? What's the level that creates disease? Like, because I don't know. We're going to have to figure this out and get these measurements from creating the test and taking samples from people all around the country. So y'all can look forward to that. It's going to be very funny, but it'll be about 10-month process to get this all done.
Looking forward
Which
to hearing.
I am super excited about. Yeah, very excited.
I bet. You got time for a few more questions?
I do.
Great.
Oh, and this test will be applied also to the COVID-19 vaccines, because if the COVID-19 vaccines were to get the body to manufacture its own spike proteins, well, okay,
Not that
great.
that would ever happen.
Are you producing any of those? Any of these named 36? And do they correlate? Are they an issue? And if they do show up, man, well, now the medical professionals trying to help so many people around the world who are injured, hopefully they can find in all the medical research for 100 years now how it is you denature these very toxic proteins from the human body.
Question from Jeannie. Wouldn't antibiotics kill the bacteria causing the spike? Wouldn't everyone who has spike injury who has taken antibiotics be cured by now?
Very good question. All right, so this is my next question. That's a great question, actually. Do all antibiotics work against all bacteria?
Not in my experience.
Do you know that the most common genetic sequence in all DNA plasmids, you can look up DNA plasmids on addgene.com, addgene.com. In fact, every animal venom I just said, the 20 different snakes venoms, the cone snail venoms, and the starfish venoms, do you know that addgene.com, which is the bank for all DNA plasmids, you can go on their website and type in the names of those snakes and cone snails, and you'll find the DNA plasmids for sale on their website. We sell cone snail venom DNA plasmids. We sell cobra venom DNA plasmids. Why the hell are you selling that stuff? Do you know that in every DNA plasmid that I've looked at with all these venom structures and genetic sequences also is embedded an antibiotic resistant gene to make the bacteria resistant to antibiotics? That you're told this whole overuse of antibiotics is causing antibiotic resistant bacteria? No. Science is programming bacteria to not respond to your antibiotics. And not every antibiotic works for all bacteria. No, they don't. So if you do a stool sample test, for example, go to parasitetesting.com. They do a stool sample test for disease-causing bacteria. When you get your results within 2 weeks in your email, it will highlight which bacteria you have of the 10s they're testing for, and then they will tell you what specific ranking of different antibiotics are found to be the most effective against your specific bacteria. And they rank them because they're not all the same. Doxycycline and amoxicillin, Cipro, they do not all handle all 100% of all bacteria. You've got to have a specific one that works. And this is what Dr. Chetty found in South Africa for those injured from the vaccine and from long COVID patients.
Great response. Question from Dr. Laura. Dr. Ardis, is there any vaccine that you would get? Tetanus in the face of a tetanus-prone wound? A rabies vaccine in the face of a possible rabid animal?
Very good question. All right, so I'll just use those 2 examples. So do you know there's 2 scenarios in science where you can inject an animal with rabies and it won't get rabies? So they have what are called knockout mice. They will create a genetically altered mouse to not have what are called alpha-7 nicotine receptors. And if they don't have a nicotine receptor in their body and you inject them with rabies, they don't ever get sick. And they just poop and pee out the rabies. Did you know this? The second type of mammal that will never get rabies is one who has nicotine in its body. Did you know nicotine's an antidote to rabies? Well, everybody out there that knows me or familiar, they call me the nicotine guy all around the world. I'm wearing a nicotine patch right now, and I will the rest of my life. And I will, not to prevent rabies only, but oh my God, almost every virus on earth cannot make you sick in the presence of nicotine. It's amazing if you go into all the medical research studies, which I've done for the last 4 years. It's ridiculous. So There's actually an acid called sialic acid that the flu vaccine or the flu virus cannot live in the presence of. Did you know? And did you know nicotine raises sialic acid so that you can't get sick with the flu? So I just wear a nicotine patch all the time.
So heavy smokers can't get sick.
Well, heavy smokers can get sick, but not
from they've got all that nicotine, right?
Yeah, but not from like COVID. So the primary issue with not with COVID, but with smokers would be if you're smoking organic tobacco, it does not have the 599 chemicals the FDA is allowed to be added to the products which suppress your immune system. Tobacco, I could show you a medical textbook right now that has published that tobacco has been called the panacea of panaceas. I don't know if you know what the word panacea is, but in conventional medicine, the word panacea means a cure for all human diseases. Tobacco is the only plant that's ever been called for 500 years by the conventional medicine the panacea of all panaceas. Now, in that document, in that textbook, they reference every year that they have published tobacco could cure all conditions. And I want to talk about tetanus. Did you know tetanus is cured by tobacco and it's been known to be cured by tobacco since the 1600s? Tetanus. And I will tell you an example of a story, a case study in the medical textbook. It's on my website. You can go look at the podcast I did reviewing this textbook, medical textbook. It's called The Medicinal Uses of Tobacco from 1492 to 1860. That's the title of the book. And you can download the PDF and read it. They actually have examples in there where medical doctors, conventional medical doctors, in the 1600s, 1700s, and 1800s, if a woman got tetanus and the bacterium of tetanus got to their brain, that's when most people die, is when tetanus bacteria gets to the brain. Check out this story, Steve Kirsch. You'll like this one. There's case study after case study in there. I don't know how the medical doctor came up with this idea, but they decided to smoke tobacco, take a glass tube and put it in the vagina of the sick woman and blow the tobacco smoke intravaginally, and they cured the person of tetanus within just a couple days. And they would do this over and over and over. So with tetanus, I wear a nicotine patch. I ain't worried about that. I mean, this is what I do, and I educate people on all these things, but rabies, HIV, and COVID, just, you know, it is published. Now, I can show you the research studies in chapter 13 of my book. Every one of those conditions has been known for decades to be cured by nicotine or prevented by nicotine. And in the case of rabies, I actually have veterinarians in Florida. If a dog has been bit and they can confirm rabies antibodies or antigens, they will shave the dog's hair, put on a nicotine patch, and call me within 5 days and tell me that the dog was now cured of rabies. And I'm like, that's so crazy. I'm just presenting the research and showing everybody, but it's pretty impressive. And I think this is a part of why 200 countries around the world right now are in lockstep banning tobacco and nicotine agents around the world in favor of drugs. Oh, by the way, did you know tobacco was known to cure all cancers since the 1400s? Up until 1860 in this textbook, and they name every cancer it cures.
So where's the clinic that is curing cancer that basically says we're curing cancer? They give you a nicotine patch or what have you, and your cancer is cured.
Yeah, so Dr. Silva is actually an oncologist out of Spain, and he does consultations through graithcare.com. Dr. Silva actually does medical conventions where I speak, and he speaks through Zoom. He's the one that throws out that his colleagues around the world in South America, Mexico, are using nicotine to combat specific cancers, including pancreatic cancers, glioblastomas. They're finding great success with intravenous use of nicotine and tobacco extracts, which is pretty phenomenal. I'm not doing it, but they're doing it, which is cool and very exciting.
Right. No one in the U.S.?
I don't know anybody in the U.S. that's doing it in their clinics. Not that I know of specifically. I just know other ones outside the country.
But if it works so reliably, why I don't get it. Why isn't anyone using it in the United States?
Oh, they're probably scared to death to do it here if they're a licensed medical professional. Remember during COVID, Steve? Remember our buddies who tried to use hydroxychloroquine instead of remdesivir? Remember what happened to them?
Yeah.
Simone Gold and others. Yeah, that remdesivir doesn't work. I'm going to use hydroxychloroquine. Okay, you're fired. All right, you don't have a job. All right, you're out of here. Okay, fine. I just think there's a lot of threats to people's licenses that just hasn't changed yet. And I really am pushing to get a lot of people convinced that you might want to start opening up this possibility that nicotine is not a drug as declared by the FDA, and you're going to have to change that. This is a natural substance, a nutrient actually found in every nightshade vegetable you eat. So it just happens to be tobacco's in the nightshade vegetable family, and it has been used in Orthodox medicine for a long time. And kind of like the narrative that an apple a day keeps the doctor away, they had to squash that in the 1990s in favor of vaccines and drugs and glyphosate. Trust the non-organic foods, in favor of sickness, illness, and more medications. So I think they're doing the same thing with tobacco.
I don't know if you noticed, Brian, there were a lot of people at the Better Way conference chewing the nicotine gum. I keep saying more people.
There are people all over where I go. They'll show me their sides or their arms with their nicotine patches on, and it's really remarkable what we're watching around the world with nicotine. It's pretty impressive, in my opinion. And I tell people all the time, you don't have to use the tobacco nicotine. Go eat your eggplants, your tomatoes, your white potatoes. They have nicotine too. They just don't have as much as tobacco. You just have to eat a lot more, and that's okay. Or use tobacco extract patches, which is what I use from a brand called Tola Vida, and it's just natural tobacco extract, and I use it. It's
so are there studies? Have there been randomized studies with tobacco?
Yes. In fact, chapter 13 of my book has them all laid out in there, including the links to the studies, the screenshots of the title pages, their conclusions, and the materials and methods and results.
And what are the hazard rates and so forth between having the nicotine treatment versus not?
For what condition?
Cancer, for example.
For cancer. All right. So, for example, I have a research study in chapter 13 of my book where they took glioblastoma tumors and shrunk them by half in 72 hours with a low-dose nicotine, 1 part per milliliter of blood nicotine.
In how many people?
In the study, I don't remember how many people that was in the study. But yeah, it's referenced in the book, chapter 13. You want to go get it? But that's one example. Then myocarditis. They took like 30 people with myocarditis and they give them 3 days of low-dose nicotine. And by day 14, their heart's literal scarring from myocarditis is completely reversed in 14 days of just being given 3 days of small dose of nicotine. So I walk you through myocarditis, how that's reversed with nicotine alone, not tobacco, just nicotine. And so I show all those studies. They're all in there. And I walk you through Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, MS. I walk you through all those ulcerative colitis, arthritis research studies, autism studies. And for anybody looking right now without reading the book, most research studies are done for 1 week, 7 milligram doses. And that goes for long COVID, that goes for autism, that goes for Parkinson's, it goes for mild cognitive impairment. One of my favorite studies on early onset dementia and mild cognitive impairment with nicotine. 15 milligram nicotine patches were given to 74 people. 15 milligrams, that's a lot. I've never even done 15. I usually start out with 3 to 7. They start these people who are tobacco and nicotine naive their whole life. They just put 15 milligrams on them and said, wear one every day for the next 6 months. 100% of them saw improvements in almost every aspect of their cognitive impairment improved, and their psychomotor skills all restored back to normal within 6 months. What's amazing, my favorite part of the study, they asked them 6 months later, did any of you have any withdrawal symptoms coming off of these addictive nicotine patches? Not a single one reported a single withdrawal symptom of coming off of that. And not a single one said and reported back that within the next 6 months did they ever go back to try another nicotine patch. They just followed the study guidelines and took them off and never even thought about getting them again. Well, if they're super addictive, I don't know what 15 milligrams of heroin would do every day for 6 months, but I think somebody would be addicted and have withdrawal symptoms on one of those addictive nature products. But we've been greatly lied to and deceived about the health benefits of nicotine in the plant called tobacco.
Great information. I'm going to ask one more question because I got a lot, so I got to call it somewhere. Diane, 2004 says, go outside, but there are so many chemtrails, heavy ones. And I read that because now I go outside where I'm at, and they're just making X's and crosses, and it's thick, and it almost feels like there's a dimming outside. So that's a great question for you, Dr. Ardis.
I actually feel like chemtrails are worse now during this most recent administration. I don't feel like it's going down. I actually think it's worse everywhere I go. I'm like, yeah, can y'all not leave us alone? Stop spraying this crap in the air. All right, so I want everybody to know that at the healingfortheages.com, that's a conference I've been holding the last 3 years, healingfortheages.com. If you go there, our replays are available from October of 2025. We actually show lab test using EDTA, DMSO in combination on days of being chemtrail sprayed and not, how much aluminum and other toxic metals are coming out through your sweat glands when you do one infrared sauna. On the days exposed to the chemtrails when you take EDTA and DMSO and when you don't. And we were actually able to prove and show you that there's 900 times more, not 900, 9 times more aluminum released through your sweat on the days with chemtrails alone when taking EDTA and DMSO than when there is none. It's amazing. You're taking the same doses. So the body is being bombarded with aluminum. So we educated everybody there how to detox as best we can tell you and show you through DMSO and EDTA chelation therapy. It's pretty amazing. And we were able to check it in urine, which we tested, showed the lab reports there too. Dr. Henry Ely does that presentation, and all the PowerPoints, all of the lab diagnostics are in his presentation on day 2 of the Healing for the Ages 2025 replays, just so you know.
Amazing. The book is Moving Beyond the COVID-19 Lies, Restoring Health and Hope for Humanity. There it is on the screen. Get your copy if you have not read
This has
that
actually
book.
been, I actually did not want to write a book. I've been retired for a while. I'm more busy than I ever have been. But when I wrote this book, it was really to try to summarize beginning to end of the pandemic. How can I help protect and help people understand what happened and what is still happening for the next pandemics they're going to declare as much as possible? So that's why we wrote it. I was really shocked to find out when I put this on Amazon a year and a half ago. For the first year, it was #1 in vaccines category, #2 in all medical textbooks on Amazon for an entire year. It is right now #1 in pulmonary medicine on Amazon.com. And there are, I think it's 60 million books on Amazon. It's pretty impressive to be #1 and #2 in any of these categories. But it's in Spanish print, Spanish ebook. It's in Polish. I'm not joking. It's in Polish now. We also have it in French that you can download and print, order a print version in French. Every country was lied to about COVID-19. So I want it in every single language. I'd love to get to Mandarin. I'd love to get to all of them. But these are the ones we've laid out so far in a year and a half.
Fantastic. That's great news that you're getting it published in so many languages and spreading around the
The
world.
whole world was lied to, not just those that speak English.
Exactly. And Bryan, where else can our viewers find your work and follow you?
Yeah, so if there's a censored platform on Earth, you'll find me on it. So if look up censored platforms, there's Dr. Ardis. All right. No, you can find me at the Doctor Ardis Show. That's where once a week I do a health and wellness podcast. I pick a medical condition and I walk audiences through what the medical profession says about that condition, how many people it affects, what are the recommendations, what are the therapies, modalities, and drugs. I walk you through the risks of all those drugs that are published, and then I walk you through the natural solutions found in medical research studies and the therapeutic doses of each of those ingredients that you could now have informed decisions and informed consent. You've got the medical stuff that they recommend and its efficacy and risks, and you've got the natural stuff here, and there you go. For example, did you know the #1 prescribed drug last year in 2025? Y'all know what #1 drug prescribed last year was in America? #1. #1. There's no other drug that had more prescriptions written for than this one last year, 2025.
Was it an antibiotic?
Nope.
No.
I actually was shocked. I was surprised when I saw it.
Statins?
It is Lipitor, atorvastatin. So that is the #1. Did you know that Lipitor is in a published category of known, not probable, known carcinogens? The #1 prescribed drug called Lipitor, atorvastatin, is a known carcinogen. Yet you're all told that your cancer that you were diagnosed with comes from your genetics. You inherited the BRCA1, BRCA2 gene.
Totally.
There's nothing you can do about it. Hold up. Did you know that Google resin extract head-to-head against Lipitor for 20 years has outperformed Lipitor without any side effects whatsoever, and it comes from nature? It beats every cholesterol level. It's the only thing that raises good cholesterol called HDL, and atorvastatin's never done that, Lipitor. All right, I think you should know you have options, and there's better options and more safe options. Yeah, there you go. That's just an example of what I walk people through every day. I'm like, okay, my goal is to help you understand what is presented to you. There is an alternative. I've had to do all this research on my own on behalf of my kids. How do I keep my kids healthy? I didn't get a guide when I left the hospital. There was no pamphlet how to keep your kids healthy without vaccines or without drugs. I had to learn all this on my own. So it's been a long, long road, but now I'm enjoying educating people, and people seem to be enjoying what we're educating them on and presenting. at the Dr. Ardis Show. It's a once a week health and wellness podcast, and you can find our information there. Oh, and if you have a condition like gout, lymphedema, it doesn't matter. I've already done the podcast. Go to the resources tab. Every PowerPoint I've ever walked anybody through in a weekly podcast, they're downloadable for free. You just go to the resources tab and pick your condition and download the PowerPoint and send it to your loved ones who struggle with that condition or not. I used to have gout and I reversed it in 2 weeks, but I suffered with it for 10 years. So if you want to know how I did it without drugs, I'll show you, because it's a very big problem for a lot of people. Just an example.
It's a thank you for sharing all this knowledge that you've spent so much time researching and questioning, the most important thing, asking the questions, doing the research. And I appreciate the work you're sharing and how you present it. It's fantastic, Dr. Ardis. So thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks. I'd like to leave you with one final question, everybody watching. I do this at medical events all over the world. I will ask this from stages and stand there. I will ask them, and all of you at home think, and even the host here, Steve. How do you say your name? Livio? I'm saying Livio. Is that right?
Perfect.
Wow. Got it right. That's me. All right. So I want to ask you all, can you think of all the symptoms a human being can have that they're going to go to a medical professional for. Can you think of a symptom? Fever, cough, chills, joint pain, diarrhea, rash, I don't care what, erectile dysfunction. Think of a symptom the human body can have, all the millions of them. Now that you pictured your symptoms, picture any symptom. I want to now ask you, how many symptoms can you name that are caused by a prescription drug deficiency? I just want you to know, I've stood in front of hundreds of medical doctors and no one has ever raised their hand and given me an answer. And I'll go like this, hold up. I'm going to wait. I'll wait. One symptom that a human being ever has that makes them call 911, go to an ER, go to the medical doctor. Name one that is caused by a prescription drug deficiency. And please don't say withdrawals from opioids. I'm not involving prescriptions. I want to know, what symptom can you think of that is caused by drug deficiency? And then my next statement is this. If there's no symptoms caused by a lack of a drug, why does anybody go to a medical doctor looking for a prescription drug? Why? Is your acid reflux really caused by Prilosec OTC? Did you know that the FDA has published on drugs.com that Prilosec OTC, the #1 prescribed antacid drug, by prescription? Do you know 75% of everybody on that drug will develop a respiratory disease, bronchitis, asthma, COPD, or emphysema? Did you know that? That 75% of you will develop from Prilosec emphysema, COPD, bronchitis, asthma, or anaphylaxis. Did you know that? And if you didn't, you should. I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to show you. There is a better way. Did you know that the acid your stomach makes is relieved by magnesium? Magnesium deficiency is the #1 cause of acid reflux. The lower sphincter in your stomach cannot relax without magnesium. Calcium makes it like spasm and not release the food down. So it goes up your esophagus. That's a magnesium deficiency. There's no symptom you can name that is caused by a lack of a prescription medication. Zero. However, every symptom on earth has a vitamin or mineral deficiency. All of them. In fact, the #2 sold drug in America last year was amlodipine. Do you know what that's for?
Yep.
It's a calcium channel blocker for high blood pressure. Did you know that amlodipine is called a calcium channel blocker? Okay. Do you know what is in nature that blocks calcium from moving into a muscle to cause an involuntary contraction? Do you know what mineral is called the natural calcium channel blocker? It's magnesium, everybody. All right. Why aren't your cardiologists prescribing magnesium? Why are they prescribing amlodipine, second most prescribed drug in America last year? Why are they doing that? When magnesium is known to be a calcium channel blocker. How come none of them tell you? Anyway, there's no side effects to magnesium except for diarrhea if you take too much. And then you reach bowel tolerance. That's it. Then you just back down the dose. But every cell in the human body needs magnesium. It's in your food. It's in your soil. Remember the periodic table of elements, everybody? That periodic table of elements is what your whole body's made out of and what the whole universe is made of. And you learned iodine's on there, zinc's on there, magnesium's on there, zinc's on there, selenium's on there. But you know what's funny about that? Your medical professionals are told to tell you, if you ask about iodine supplementing, they tell you, we don't know about the side effects of that supplement, that mineral that literally your body is made of. Okay, come on. Come on, you learned this stuff. It's real basic. Get back to common sense, people. It's all right. It's not that dangerous. Nature is amazing. God's amazing. He put in the earth and in the plants and the food what you need. Now, eat it in its raw, natural form as much as possible, and you'll watch what nature does and your immune system does. It's pretty amazing.
If it looks like food, then it's food. If it doesn't, it's not food.
Amen.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been looking up these things on Alter AI as you've been talking about them, and so I'd encourage people to do the same before you try anything. Is to make sure you do your own research and see what the data says.
Yep. And go to the Doctor Ardis Show and read the published research studies I show you. Because you know what's funny? I actually asked AI one day to create a fictional story about multiple shooters on the grassy knoll when JFK came around. Do you know what it said to me?
No.
I cannot produce something that's already been proven as fact. There was only one shooter. Okay. How artificial is this? It's actually been programmed to give you specific facts. Anyway, I'm worried about this thing, man, big time. Anyway, it's pretty funny. I just wanted it to create a fictional story. I haven't said create a fictional story, and I said I cannot create a fictional story when something's already been proven to be factual. JFK was only shot by one guy. I'm like, oh my God, you can't even create it. That's funny. All right. Anyway, can't even create that. So how much of it is free form AI?
Which AI were you using?
Oh, it was Chat GPT like a year ago when I first ever heard about it. I was like, oh, well, punch that in there. I want to see what it says.
You probably get a different result today.
Yeah,
I would think.
Probably.
Yeah, I would imagine. All right. Thank you, Dr. Ardis. We appreciate you and all your work and for coming on. Fantastic episode.
You are very, very, very welcome. God bless you all. Thank you for having me on. And I'm sure I'll run into you somewhere, and I look forward to it. And don't hide if there's a whole group of people around me trying to ask me questions. You come find me, buddy.
I'm going to come interrupt and shake hands.
Come bust through there. It'll be fun. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you. Everyone hang in there. I've got a few closing announcements to make. As you know, we are a small grassroots nonprofit, and everything VSRF does is made possible by your support. If you're able, please consider supporting us. Text VSRF to 53555 or visit vacsafety.org. Here it is again. Text VSRF to 53555 or visit vacsafety.org/donate. And as you already know, if you haven't already, please take a moment to sign our petition to appeal the 1986 National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act and share it with your friends, family, coworkers, and across your social media networks. And thank you for being part of this and for helping us continue this mission. Janet will put the link in the chat. And then next week, come back to VSRF Live, same time, same place. And we'll be joined by Dr. Angus Dalgleish and Dr. Saskia Mostert for an important discussion. Both physicians participated in Senator Ron Johnson's Senate hearing last week on plausible mechanisms of COVID-19 injections causing cancer and attacks on scientific publications. We look forward to hearing their firsthand perspectives on the testimony, and please don't miss it if you can make it. It's going to be a great episode next week, Steve. I got to meet Dr. Angus Dalgleish at the Better Way Conference, and
great. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Great guy. And then tonight, I'm going to sign off as we started the episode, honoring the memory of attorney Warner Mendenhall with a clip from the closing remarks at the first COVID litigation conference we held in Atlanta on March 25th and 26th of 2023. Steve, it's been over 3 years since we had that conference. And Warner was a fierce advocate and tireless defender of those seeking truth, accountability, and justice. And in these remarks, he reflects on the challenges ahead, the importance of perseverance, and the responsibility each generation has to continue the work of protecting liberty and fundamental rights. His words resonate just as strongly today as they did when he first spoke them. Thank you for everything, Warner. Your courage, conviction, and unwavering dedication inspired countless people, and your legacy will continue to guide this movement for years to come. We will carry the torch forward. We will continue to fight, and we will do our best to make you proud. Steve, great job tonight, as always, and great to see you. There was a question about your eye that I didn't get to, but I thought I'd just, before I play the video, we were asked about how your eye is doing.
Well, it's right. I'm recovering from surgery, so I had surgery a little over a week ago, so I'm in the recovery phase.
Great. Okay, I'm going to close with this video, Warner's closing statement from the CLC conference. Thank you, everyone, for being with us tonight. We'll see you next week. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
I thought I was going to prepare some kind of speech or something. I didn't have any time. What I think we're engaged in, though, and oh, by the way, I think we need maybe a United America party, something like that. But I mean, in literally 2 minutes here, we have seen a complete breakdown of the structures of our society, whether it's education, government, military, press, churches. Do you know how infiltrated the churches have been? Our regulatory agencies have completely broken down. Our governments at every level, whether it's local, state, or federal, have broken the bounds that we set on them with our charters and our constitutions at the state and federal level. So I came to this very naturally. We were suing state, local, and federal government. I've been doing that since I got my license. That's what we do. We've seen this grow and grow and grow and grow. It just really came to a head with the COVID crisis. And the only thing that I would say that I want us all to think about is that we are engaged in something far beyond just fighting these little COVID problems. The challenge is so much bigger. And the challenge is to the extent of the challenge that we faced during the Civil War. When we really were at a point where we were going to go one way or another. And we're going to set the direction for future generations. And I believe that's where we are right now. So we need to look at those movements. If we're going to be movement attorneys, Jeremy, we need to look at the women's suffrage movement, the civil rights movement, and what was going on with the abolitionists. And we need to understand all those movements and what they had to do and what they had to overcome over time. And they fought for decades. They had to fight for decades. This is not going to be something that clears up in a year or two. I may be dead by the time this is done, but the fight is starting now. So we are engaged now in figuring out what we have to do to refound our nation. That's where we are. Now let's just recognize it and let's get busy. And I think we've all learned so much. And then just to close out, if I see a lot of people have left, a lot of my staff have left, but anyone who's worked with me on a case or my staff, could you please stand up? I want to thank all of them as well if they're still around. Okay, a few of them. Yeah, Beth, come on. Oh my goodness. I think we brought 11 people down here with us, and it's so. Did you stand up too, Jeremy? Because you're working with us. And Jim Moody's working with us. It's just been phenomenal. I mean, I have got such a phenomenal team. It's been so great working with them. And way at the beginning of the pandemic, we sat down and we said, look, the first person who comes through that door, we're going to take their case. This may reflect badly on me, but it was a bar owner. Anyway, as I said before, this conference is nothing without you. We're nothing without you. So you guys have made this conference, and I greatly appreciate it. I want to thank you. Let's all get home safe.